On this episode of Carpe Diem, music and science. The tunes that make you feel good
Good old Kenny Rogers.
can also help you age well. UBC's Dr. Joseph Penninger and Dr. Roger Wong discuss the music and science of aging.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome. We have an amazing panel with us today. Two world-famous doctors who have made important inroads into the science of aging. The world is aging. What are some of the challenges with that, Joseph?
So as we sit here, so our life expectancy is already 92 years. And of course, knowing this creates a lot of issues. How do we deal with insurances? How do we actually lead our lives, right? Do we have to have the same partner for 70 years? Do we only go once to university or twice to university? So I think, knowing all of this, there's a lot of slur of implications for economics, of course, for our personal lives.
And also, of course, physically, aging to those years, 98, 99, how can we maintain a healthy and vibrant lifestyle into those years?
Absolutely. I think aging is clearly a lot more than the number alone. It has to do with all the different pieces, the excitement, the joy that comes with that aging process. Many of us would think of it as an experience. It's part of a life experience. And obviously being healthy throughout that experience and having rewarding experiences is absolutely important. There are many people around the world, all of us working towards the concept or the question of what can we do in terms of making sure that we stay healthy throughout our aging process. And the answer is yes, there are things that we can do.
That's what I wanted to hear. What can we do?
Well, let me start off. One of the things that we know is, and we will be talking a little bit later as well, that our genetic makeup actually will put some limitations in terms of what may or may not happen. But remember, there are many things outside of the genetics that we actually can actively pursue. And we'll be talking about things such as choices, talk about life choices, lifestyle choices. And again, modern science and technology is extremely exciting. There are new discoveries as we speak every day.
Well, we all want to live longer, but it has to be a healthy life. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're talking music as medicine.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
Music has been proven to be one of the most effective ways of connecting with people with dementia.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
In this segment, we're talking about how music affects our aging process. But first, how does it make you feel?
Music is part of my life. I love to sing, and I love to be happy. Yes.
Music makes me feel really excited, very energized, and sometimes it gives me a calming capability.
Relaxed and happy and joyous and yeah.
What kind of music calms me down? Probably good old Kenny Rogers.
I like symphony. I like upbeat music. Not noisy, really, no.
Classical, calming, passive type of music.
Well, there's no doubt that music makes us feel good, but is there more to it than that?
Well, I think there is. I think what it does, and as you hear people on the streets are talking about, it brings out emotions. I think what it is referring to is the connection, for example, in the brain, in terms of that signal, that music, that enjoyment, and stimulating and stirring up and bringing back emotions and memories. We might remember when we listen to a familiar piece that when did we hear that before? Whom were we with? And what were we doing? I think a lot of these things, when put into the right place, can be extremely helpful.
And does music change our vibrations? Like, is there a physiological change Joseph, for example, with classical music, and you hear a note and it just like sends shivers through your spine. What happens?
Yes, people actually did some brain scans. So they've actually listened to certain musics, that particular brain regions are actually activated, like centers which make you feel good, centers which give you empathy. So indeed, you can directly measure in our brains the physiological, what's happening.
And just any style of music?
I think it's very universal. So if they actually do this in different cultures, it's very universal what parts of the brain is turned on. And of course, it's what music you like. It doesn't matter if you like classical music or punk music like me or Kenny Rogers. So it's it's the familiarity, as Roger says, and it really turns on parts of our brains which just make us feel good. And we also know from brain research that of course the brain is not just this isolated unit, but it feeds into our body, changes our immune system, of course changes our whole physiology.
And let's remember as well that it is an opportunity for people to get socialized. So as we hear what people on the streets are talking about, socialization is a big piece in that experience as they listen to the music and enjoy.
Roger, as to your point earlier, Kier explores how music improves the lives of those living with dementia.
Well, here in the historic Clayburn village of Abbotsford, British Columbia, a day program seeks to improve the lives of those living with dementia, and they focus on art and music.
Music has been proven to be one of the most effective ways of connecting with people with dementia. They're losing their cognitive functions, but music still remains quite often.
Hello, lady. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm here because I wanted to learn more about cognitive rehabilitation, and in my bachelor thesis I wrote about dementia and how stress affects the onset of dementia. There's a lack for holistic programs that kind of focus on more than just one aspect of dementia rehabilitation. So here we have, we have music, we have the social components. We just like to have fun with people.
It's an individualized program, so we're looking to see what the interests and abilities are of each individual person and try to apply the activities that we have prepared to the level of the people that are here in our club.
You see the fishing line going out?
Yes.
They may come in a not such great mood for the first 10 minutes or so, but once we get into the activities, you begin to see them shift into a different zone of comfort and happiness.
Well, one thing's for certain, they sure have a lot of fun around here. I'm Kier Junos for Carpe Diem.
One of the patients walked in the door feeling rather depressed. He heard the music, he became fully engaged. Music is therapy.
Absolutely. It is like magic. For many people living with Alzheimer's disease, the most common type of dementia, and for the loved ones, their families, their care partners, an opportunity to socialize, an opportunity to really experience joy through music can be a very powerful tool. It is something that we see very often clinically, and I think the science behind it, we're starting to really try to get a better grasp in terms of what makes that happen.
There are probably certain brain circuits which are activated. So if we see things, if we hear things, it always activates a certain brain region. And of course, if there's music, there are other brain regions which are activated. And of course, part of dementia is that all of these brain regions cannot be engaged. If you can bypass them, then you have better capacity.
Absolutely. And in that video, one of the things that really strikes me is I see that technology is being used. So one of the people living with dementia actually put on the holograph lens.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. And we know that technology can be very helpful in situations in order to augment that experience. And in fact, I know that even when we talk about the training of musicians these days, the conductors, for example, we have used holographic technology, for example, for the conductors to train and learn how to conduct an entire orchestra without the actual presence of an orchestra. So technology is really moving fast.
That's very cool. Actually, I know this guy who built the first synthesizer. He actually made the first music piece run by a computer in the UK. And yeah, technology has come a long way. So he actually told me all these old stories of teaching the Beatles how to use the synthesizer. But he always wanted to kick them out from the studio because he thought they're so boring. You know, he wants to play with his little piece. The whole computer was like this room. So we have come a long way, and I completely agree with you. With technology, we can do amazing things nowadays.
Research and technology, they're part of our past and certainly for a better future. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we explore how our genetic makeup affects the way we age.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
My first question to many people when they tell me, oh, I have osteoporosis or low bone mass, did your mother have it?
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. In this segment, we're talking genetics. Joseph, does our genetic makeup affect the way we age?
Genetics, of course, has a big role how we age, but of course, clearly it's also the environment, how we keep up with ourselves, which is a major influence on aging and of course life expectancy and especially health expectancy.
And I totally agree. There's now a lot of science really looking at the influence of the environment, and that includes our lifestyle choices, on the expression of the genes that are already encoded within our body. In other words, theoretically, you can have the same set of genetic sequences, then they can be expressed in different ways as influenced by the environment, the so-called science of epigenetics. And it is actually really vibrant, and there are lots of new discoveries in that area. And the whole question is the interaction between genetics and epigenetics.
Exercise and diet seems to be the key to youth and to longevity.
I have a soccer team I play with, and actually one of our players is 84. Wow. And he's in an amazing shape. The reason is he just plays 2-3 times a week, and then he goes play tennis afterwards. And
at 84.
Yes, and you know, and I think we can do something. You know, we have to also make this rational choice for ourselves to eat well, to exercise. You know, to believe this is our own body. That's the only body we have,
the
and
temple.
we should take care of it.
Well, I agree with you. Now, we asked, do genetics play a big role in healthy aging?
I would say so, but I think it's a lot what you do with your health and how you eat, and exercise is the biggest thing.
Yes, of course. For instance, the work that I do with osteoporosis, my first question to many people when they tell me, oh, I have osteoporosis or low bone mass, did your mother have it? They had no idea in those days how to check it.
Seems people are aware.
Absolutely. And one of the things that strikes me, for example, during the interview, is people talk about osteoporosis, a condition of the bone. And I think it's a good example that talks about as people age, there is certainly certain risk factors that predispose people to developing osteoporosis. And there's a lot of new discovery in that area as well.
So the basics is simple. You know, we have a cell which makes bone and a cell which eats bone. And the balance between them is disturbed. Of course, if there is more bone loss, the cells which eat more bone become dominant. Simple as this, you know, the balance. We have to keep our life in balance, our bone is in balance. And basically, rankle is the molecule which tells the bone-eating cell, you eat more bone. So if this happens in our whole body, we call this osteoporosis. So that's what happened. And of course, knowing this principle, medicine has been developed to block this. And of course, if we can block the bone-eating cells, so we can basically block bone loss under many, many conditions of cancer, cancer metastasis, aging, osteoporosis, space flight, for instance. You know, people who cannot get out of bed anymore, they're mechanosensors. That's why exercise is important, and the exercise helps against osteoporosis. But we understand the system, and the drug has been developed which blocks this. So I only get the glory, so I don't get any of the money. But it's actually interesting. So this drug is now making 4.5 billion in revenue already. So.
And more importantly, as Joseph has talked about, one of the key things is that there are other applications potentially of this discovery. It goes above and beyond the bone. And that is the excitement about linking the science and translating it into medicine and into health.
And bone loss is one of the most frequent causes of death in old age. People who have wrinkled bones, walk, break their bones, you get to hospital. So I'm told only 50% who have actually breaking their hip bones go back to normal as they've been before. So that's why they're fast mobilized. So there are studies now that if actually one can block bone loss, one can extend the life expectancy of people. Also from our study, which was really interesting, it turns out sex hormones regulate how much bone we have. It's some evolutionary implication, and so we can have another whole show on this.
I think we have to.
But in essence, what this means is we will all develop osteoporosis eventually, because it's our normal physiological setup, part of our evolution. So that's why we also need to understand the system, because if we want to have really a population of 90-year-olds who are healthy, we really need to understand this, because that's normal physiology. We will all get it, but knowing and understanding it, developing new medicines, I think really can make a huge impact.
Long, healthy life, that's the key.
Exactly.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back for our panel's final thoughts.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
And the whole idea is really to bring together, which actually should be together, the cultures of art with science. Music allows us actually to bring out the stories of science.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
It's now time to go around the table for our panel's final thoughts. And Roger, why don't we start with you?
I think there are really two things that we need to remember. First will be things that we can actually do to make choices, lifestyle choices. We talk about exercise, physical activity, staying active and vibrant. And the other thing I would say, the second thing is about socialization, staying socialized. And again, these two things are not mutually exclusive. We actually oftentimes come up with activities that combine the two. We saw some really good examples from our clips today. So I think if we keep those things in mind, we should be in good shape.
Excellent points. Now, before we hear from you, Joseph, let's show a clip from your sold-out Sounds and Science concert at UBC.
For the very first time in Canada, a uniquely crafted event is taking place at UBC. The concept involves science and music.
So today we will do the first Sound and Science in Canada. So initially we started it in Vienna, and the whole idea is really to bring together, which actually should be together, the cultures of art with science. Music allows us actually to bring out the stories of science.
The musical performances are paired with scientific insights from researchers from our very own UBC Faculty of Medicine.
Johannes Brahms, and it was said that he died of liver cancer, and we'll discuss this.
This particular format of using music to opening people's minds so that they can translate and adapt and apply the knowledge is what we're very excited about.
So what do you think so far?
Above and beyond anything we've heard in music and medicine.
The very first Sounds of Science concert was a sold-out event. I'm Leah Bolton, back to the studio with you, Carmen.
Joseph, what happens next? Where do we go from here?
I strongly believe we have to marry again the fields of science and art, because they do belong together. So this was just the beginning. So we have many ideas what to do, brain images with dancing, invite some of the most amazing neurobiologists on the planet to talk about what actually happens in your brain if you see Gustav Klimt and things like this. So this can be just the beginning. And I love music because, it's like language. We have certain numbers of words and, letters, which we can put together to talk to each other. And of course, music is universal. Everybody understands it. The scales and the composers make just poetry out of it. And it affects our emotions, it affects our brains, and it's just this universal different second language we have, we can all understand.
Yeah, and it can really change our mood. So how crucial is music to aging?
I think music is very important in anybody, all of us, but in particular those who are living with chronic health conditions. And we talked about some examples today, such as people living with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. But again, just remember, music is there for us to enjoy. Music is there for us to experience. And music, to many of us, and I agree with Joseph completely, I'm also a very musical person. Music, to many of us, is just part of us. So as we embrace healthy aging, we also need to embrace music.
And actually in the Sound and Science we ran at UBC, so actually thanks for Santa Ono and UBC, they actually embraced it, and people came out, and I think really everybody loved it, and I hope it's just the beginning. We do this many times. But there's actually one little picture in there, Strauss, you know, the famous waltz god, standing beside Brahms. And if you look at the picture, Strauss looks really young and Brahms looks really old, but Brahms is actually 10 years younger.
What a great show. Thank you so much for being with us. I've learned so much, and I would love to have you both back. So thank you, Joseph and Roger. If you would like to see a conversation at this table, get in touch. And that's the show. Remember, as our Carpe president, Moses Neimer, always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So, Carpe Diem and seize your day.